Hello everyone, and welcome to Reviews of Everything. If you're a new subscriber, hello, welcome, glad to have you here. If you're an old subscriber, also great to have you here. I'm Steven, in case you didn't know my name. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you're thinking of subscribing, well then welcome. Everyone is welcome onto this channel, please. Now then, on to the video. So today we are talking about my most anticipated movies that may or may not come out in 2021. As you recall, 2020, not the greatest year in regards to movies. Film industry really took a hit. A lot of big movies that we were really anticipating didn't end up happening. And all the movies that we're now not getting until 2022 would have been out in the next couple months. It was a shit show, alright? I'm sure you were all there. So that being said, by the time it comes to the end of this year, a lot of the movies I talk about today might not even have come out. They might have been pushed back again. But for now, it doesn't hurt to have a little hope. And nothing gives me hope more like films. So disclaimer, this will be a top 10 list with a couple of honorable mentions. There might be some movies that might be on your list that are not on mine. These are my opinions. If there's a movie coming out in 2020 that you're excited for, didn't see it on this list, just talk about it in the comments below and we'll have a grand old time. And as most top anticipated movies of 2020 lists are going to go, a bunch of these were supposed to come out last year. They did not. They're coming out this year. The whole list will not be comprised of these, but the fact that we were so close to getting them but didn't means that the hype for them has only gone up from this point. And also, one last disclaimer, you're going to see a lot of Marvel on this list, a lot of big blockbuster movies. That's not to say that a lot of more independent, smaller movies are not going to be good this year, but I'm saying as of right now, I don't know about any of those movies. We're going to talk about the ones that I have heard about, that there's a lot of hype around. I think you get the idea here. So why don't we get into the list, huh? Shall we? Let's do that. Starting out, we have 4 honorable mentions. The first one we're going to talk about is Morbius. Funny enough, it is the first movie of 2021 that has been pushed back. Not to 2022, it was supposed to come out in March. It's not coming out in October. It's a Marvel movie. It's not a Marvel movie, but it is a movie based on a Marvel character that I actually remember from my childhood. He was part of the 90s SpiderMan cartoon, as I'm sure many of you remember. Should be interesting. Jared Leto's going to star. Hopefully he'll get that redemption from Suicide Squad. It's intriguing. You know, I'm not really sure. It's just a guy who becomes a vampire. And it looks like there's going to be some sort of tie into the MCU. If you remember that first trailer, we saw Vulture at the very end, so I really don't know what the hell's going to go on. If this is going to tie into the MCU, if it's going to tie into the Multiverse of Madness, who knows? We'll see. Morbius. Next up is Uncharted, starring Tom Holland. I've been a fan of the Uncharted games for a little while now. I got into them a little late, like around a few years ago. I played all 4 of them. I still haven't played that one spinoff, which I heard isn't all that good, but you know, maybe I'll play it someday. But I'm a big Nathan Drake guy. Nathan Drake's a great character. Nolan North, amazing job at portraying Nathan Drake. This is going to be a younger Nathan Drake story in which he'll be played by Tom Holland. You got Mark Wahlberg playing Sully, which is funny because Mark Wahlberg was like rumored to be Nathan Drake like 10 years ago. Should be a fun movie, directed by Ruben Fleischer, director of Venom. My only concern, of course, it's a video game movie. I feel like we are in the age of video games movies are slowly getting better. I think there can be good video game movies if you get competent people behind them. You know, don't get someone with a bad track record. Get someone who, you know, can write a good story with good characters, because that's all that really matters, you know? And like I said, we got Detective Pikachu a couple years ago, we got Sonic. These were considerably better than the video game movies of the past, so here's hoping that Uncharted can be a really fun Indiana Jones type adventure. Next honorable mention, Mortal Kombat, yet another video game movie, coming to us in April on HBO Max. We should be getting that, like, for sure in 2021, so that's great to hear. We've had a couple Mortal Kombat movies in the past. I'll admit I've only seen the first one, but I didn't really like that one. I know it's a cult classic to a lot of people. Wasn't really a fan of it, thought it was kind of lame. And if I feel that way about the first one, I can't imagine how I'll feel about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That being said, this Mortal Kombat is going to be rated R. It's going to be a lot more violent. We'll finally be getting some fatalities. Got a bunch of classic Mortal Kombat characters that are going to be in this movie. It could be really fun, at best. At worst, it could be a fucking dumpster fire, but you know what? Here's holding out hope that at the very least, it'll be an enjoyable, fun time. And last honorable mention is The Matrix 4. Obviously, the original Matrix is a cult classic. I've seen it several times across my lifetime. I always enjoy it. The 2 sequels, Reloaded and Revolutions, are not that good. I have only seen each of them once. It's been a long time since I've seen them. That being said, this new Matrix coming out could be considerably better. Hopefully the Wachowskis have learned their lessons. We got some returning stars. We have Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss. Not going to get into spoilers, but that's intriguing, their presence in this movie. Cast looks pretty impressive. Jonathan Groff, it could be really cool. And it'll be amazing just to see a Matrix sequel after all this time, especially because we thought we weren't getting one. But again, I'm holding out hope because the other Matrix sequels weren't all that. So we will see. All right, now we're getting into the meat of this list. Getting into the top 10, my top 10 most anticipated movies, 2021. Starting off at number 10, we have Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, for a lot of people, this might be your number one, and I'm just going to say it, this is probably not going to be a good movie. I mean, you look back at all the monster movies, Godzilla King of Monsters, which I thought was okay, but if you go into that movie expecting big monster fights, then you're going to get that. And, that's what I'm going into Godzilla vs. Kong expecting. It's going to be some badass fights, but I feel like that's where it ends. You're going to have all the human characters that no one really gives a shit about taking up a good amount of the movie. Watch this movie is going to be about 2 hours, 40 minutes long. The fight between Godzilla vs. Kong will be about 20, 30 minutes. 30 is generous. That being said, this is something we haven't seen since the 60s. The new versions of Godzilla and Kong are massive, to say the least. I think there'll be some pretty cool fight scenes, but overall, I feel like that's where it's going to end. Godzilla vs. Kong, number 10. Coming to us on HBO Max, so we'll probably be getting that one for sure. Should be a fun time. Number 9 is A Quiet Place Part 2. I think John Krasinski really killed was it his directorial debut? I'm not too sure. Well, either way, it was his directorial debut for a big Hollywood movie. Quiet Place was a welcome addition to the horror genre. Thought it was really good, really well directed. I didn't really anticipate getting a sequel because I thought the first one really stood well on its own, but that being said, we are getting a sequel. Emily Blunt, the children from the first movie will all be back. Apparently John Krasinski's coming back in some flashbacks, and he's coming back to direct it, which is also a great sign. To think that this movie would have come out last year, would have come out right about after the whole situation we're in started. We are so close to getting it, so close, and the trailers look really cool. Just hopefully it can be a really great horror sequel. Number 8, No Time to Die. The first movie that was delayed due to COVID. And boy, did that disappoint me. At the time, I thought no, why would you delay that? This is all gonna be fine. This won't be an issue. And now I look back and thinking wow, they really saw it coming. But that being said, this is gonna be the final James Bond film in which Bond is portrayed by Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig's been Bond since Casino Royale in 2006. And the trailers for this movie look really cool. You got Rami Malek as the villain. And I think it's going to be a send-off to James Bond like we've never seen before. Number 7 is Dune. Now, I'll be honest, I've never read the book, but the whole concept, the sandworms and this space adventure with this giant ensemble cast, the great actors, Timothée Chalamet, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, the list goes on and on and on. And the trailer for this movie really wowed me. I've never read the book, and I've never seen the original David Lynch film that came out in the 80s. I heard it was kind of but it looks like they're taking this film a lot seriously. I just like the concept, I like the cast, I wish I could say more. I don't really know what the story's about, other than it's about some sort of drug and some planet and there's a bunch of giant worms, but I feel like this could potentially be the next, Avatar, this sci-fi film that comes out of nowhere and just is a massive hit with everybody, except unlike Avatar, which I'll admit not a lot of people even talk about anymore. I feel like Dune is going to resonate with people for a while. Number 6 is Eternals, the MCU movie that we would have gotten already. I don't know too much about the Eternals. All I know is that I really like the cast. You have Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, the list goes on. And apparently it's going to explore a side of the MCU we haven't seen before with this race of people that have been on Earth for a while, and apparently it's after the events of Endgame and there's some tragedy, so I look forward to how it ties into the main MCU. These are a lot of characters you're now bringing into the mix here. It's being directed by Chloe Zhao, directed a really great indie film called The Rider, came out in 2017. She seems like she'd bring a lot to the table in regards to directing, so look, either way, I'm just looking forward to seeing a Marvel movie this year, I don't know much about it, but I think, like the Guardians of the Galaxy before, the Eternals will become a household name. Here's hoping. Number 5 is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Now, my thoughts on the Venom movie that came out a couple years ago have sort of shifted a little bit. I thought it was fine when it came out. Since I've watched it, I've enjoyed it a little less, but overall, I like the concept of Venom. I love the dynamic between Eddie and the symbiote Venom. That being said, Riot was a pretty weak villain, and I feel like they held back a little bit in regards to what Venom can really do. Now in this sequel, we're getting Woody Harrelson as Carnage. Hopefully they'll have learned from their mistakes of the first film. It's being directed by Andy Serkis. Either way, I'm just looking forward to finally seeing Venom versus Carnage, because let's face it, that's what we really wanted to see in the first Venom movie, so now we're finally getting it. Number 4 is ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. There's a lot to look forward to in this Marvel movie. First off, we're getting a full Asian American cast. This will be the first Asian American superhero within the MCU. I really like the main actor. I don't know much about him. I haven't seen much that he's in, but I've seen like behind the scenes interviews and I've seen him at Comic-Con. He seems like a really genuine dude. Secondly, we're finally, after 8 years, getting an accurate take on the Mandarin. I have to say, I will always be a Marvel fan till the day I die, but even at 13 years old, when I saw Iron Man 3 in theaters, I was disappointed by the big Mandarin reveal. I feel like they knew they fucked up there, so now we're getting a true, authentic Mandarin. I want him to have the rings. I want him to use his magic. I think it could be really cool. I definitely feel like ShangChi could really hold his own in a movie, and I would love to see him team up with the Avengers one day. I just want a really great superhero origin story about somebody who I don't really know much about in regard to the comics, and like with the Eternals, I'd love to see ShangChi become a household name and an A-list Marvel character, so it comes out in July. Can't wait to see it. Number 3 is Black Widow. Oh, this one is only so high on the list because it was literally going to be the next Marvel movie we got. We were so close to getting it, just 2 months, and then the COVID happened, and now we are getting it a year after we were supposed to get it. I mean, what can I say about Black Widow that hasn't been said already? She's badass. I really like the cast they got for this movie. It looks like a really fun cast of supporting characters. Red Guardian, David Harbour. He'll kick ass, I'm sure. My only really fear about this movie is that it's just gonna be just another generic Marvel movie. I'm a little bit worried about villain, Taskmaster. They haven't revealed who he is in the trailers, and I feel like it's gonna be someone really obvious. Let's hope not. That being said, we're finally getting a Black Widow movie. This movie should have come out like 4 years ago. I don't know why we're just barely getting it now. But better late than never, I suppose. I like the trailers, I'm impressed with what I've seen. I think it could be a really cool action movie and a great send-off to Scarlett Johansson's Natasha Romanoff. Number 2 is The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. I have to say, James Gunn has become quite a badass over the years. We all knew Marvel fucked up when they let him go from directing Guardians 3. So, DC just swooped in and was like, you're coming with us. And I think Marvel knew they fucked up, because eventually when they rehired him, I don't know, I heard there's this rule that you can't work with DC if you've worked with Marvel, and then vice versa. But Marvel knew they made a mistake by letting him go, that they're now in this position of like, oh yeah, go ahead and direct your DC movie and then come back to us. Please, James, come back to us. So now, it's sort of a win-win. Not only are we getting Guardians 3 directed by James Gunn in a few years, but we're now getting this really badass-looking Suicide Squad movie. It's supposed to be in this 80s war movie set in the jungles of somewhere, I don't know. Great cast, huge cast, and let me just say, King Shark. That is all. Like Venom, my thoughts on the original Suicide Squad have sort of changed. I kind of liked it when it came out, actually. I just thought it was this fun little comic book movie, and the more I watched it, the less I liked it, and now I think it's awful. Let's not kid ourselves here. So I think this could be a good redemption for the Suicide Squad characters. I feel like this will be our truly iconic Suicide Squad movie that we've wanted all along. Coming to HBO Max in August. Let's fucking go. And finally, number 1, if you've seen my other videos, you probably know what it is. Obviously, you've seen a bunch of Marvel movies on this list, so you should know that my number 1 most anticipated movie of 2021 is Spider-Man 3. Or as Kevin Feige and Marvel are actually referring to it as Spider-Man Homecoming 3, since we already got a Spider-Man 3 directed by Sam Raimi. Now I can understand why you would not maybe want to put this at number 1, because, well, let me tell you the reason I'm putting it at number 1 is because if these rumors are true, this is going to be the quintessential Spider-Man movie. We're getting the 3 Spider-Men, but as I was saying, these rumors are not confirmed yet, so I can understand why some people might be hesitant to put it at number 1, because they are treating the rumors as not confirmed. Even if they're not, we are still getting a Spider-Man movie. Far From Home set up this great concept of Peter Parker has been ousted, he's a wanted man. I think that alone could make for a really great Spider-Man movie. But the fact that it is going, that much is confirmed, the fact that it is going to tie into the Multiverse of Madness, and that is why I am considering these rumors as essentially true. I think this is going to be a movie full of fan service, but earned fan service. You know, not just like, oh look, here's the other Spider-Man just for the purpose of having them, and just the fact that we'll finally get to see Andrew and Tobey again, if the rumors are true. Will give closure to their Spider-Man. Both Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 were expected to get sequels, and they never got them. So now we're bringing those two back. We'll finally know what they've been up to all these years, and hopefully get proper endings for their characters. So yeah, as a lifelong Spider-Man fan, how could I not put a Spider-Man movie at the top of this list? Comes out in December 2021. This is the one that I hope does not get delayed, because I just can't wait for this. Like, I thought there's no way after Endgame that I would ever be this excited about a Marvel movie. Well, I was wrong. It seems like Marvel is already going to top Endgame with this big multiverse epic. Alright, so that is my list. I'm sure there's some that I forgot, and also, like I said, some that I just didn't feel the need to put on the list, maybe because I'm more excited for the movies that I just talked about than I am for them. So please, go in the comments, tell me about some movies that you're excited for in 2021, some movies that I didn't really talk about. Maybe I'll chime in with my own opinions on them, and we'll just have a damn good time in the comments. Let's see. Alright, thank you all for watching. Subscribe for more videos. I'm going to try to get consistent with it. Stay frosty, everybody. Have a good one.